while we're here rebuilding this engine, how about we review a few tools? First up is going to be a seal puller. Now I needed to pull the seal. I don't need to. I choose to because I already have the engine apart. I'm going to remove and replace the old crankshaft seal with a new crankshaft seal. That way, I just eliminate the need to get into the whole engine again. Fresh out of the box, haven't even opened it. From what I'm told, now I've never used one of these before because I've never had to rebuild an engine, so we're going to learn together. From what I'm told, and from what I see, all I have to do is put one of these hooks underneath the seal, give it a small pull. This thing's measured about, I don't know, 11, 12 inches. Metal head, relatively sturdy construction. I got it for $13, so let's see how it does. Okay, so here's my timing cover, and here is the crankshaft seal. What I want to do is I want to pull that seal and replace it with the new one. First part is I got to get in here, just get underneath the seal a little bit. There you go, get underneath the seal, and I'm supposed to be able to just pull it right off. Now I'm going to need two hands for this, so I got to put you down. And to do that, I actually got a tripod, so I feel kind of like important. All right, get in, get underneath the seal, just give it a pull, just like that. Super simple. I haven't bent anything, I haven't messed anything up, and you see I haven't hurt any of my main bearing. Need better lighting. So now the next step is simply replace it with the new seal. So for that, you just need to get a socket, and that's slightly smaller than the hole you're trying to pop it into, and just use a mallet and pop it in place, like so. The seal is really just two stamped pieces of metal pressed together, but it's very, very important that you do it the right way. There are dowels that are already set into the head, into the engine block, and you put it there with the brand facing up. Now I can't see what you see because I have the camera turned around, but you set it in very gently and make sure that the words are up, it's sitting in the dowels so that everything's placed correctly. Next job is to very gently and gingerly. Typically you want to have a helper with this, but I don't have a helper. So I get to do all of this on my own. I get to do all of this fun on my own. All right, pick it up. I've already made sure that everything on the underside is nice and clean. And so I'm going to very gingerly and carefully not drop the head. Make sure that this heavy piece of equipment goes on fairly square. And just like that. Okay. I have it all on. The underside was good. I'm going to move this camera just a little bit. The underside was good, and now the head's on straight. My next job is to put all of my crankshaft bolts inside it. 10 bolts that you have to put in a very specific sequence. And this is kind of fun, but so 6 of those bolts have washers that are built in that cannot be removed, like this. They don't come off. Other 6 bolts have washers that can be removed because of how it's made. You have to put the washers in prior, because it's a tight fit in there. So you're supposed to dip them in oil. I almost forgot that step. Supposed to dip them in oil and then feed them in. So I just got the correct oil for my car. And I'm going to give these guys a bit of a bath right as I put them in. absolutely no more. And you have to do it in a very specific sequence. And so let me get to my trusty dusty book here. Now this, I'm going to show it to you. This is, for people who really want to work on cars, this is the thing that you truly want. Is this book here, a manual for your vehicle. Just about every vehicle that's made has a manual. And I am looking for my cylinder head bolt tightening sequence. So I'm going to follow that. Like I showed in one video about how to use a highlighter. Okay, let's get this set up. Boom, okay. There it is right there. Don't want to reach across. And the tool that I just had is right here. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to tighten these all down, finger tight, and absolutely nothing more. Because then I have to break out the digital torque wrench. That 10th one because it is a little tighter than I wanted it to be. I don't want to force anything. Alright, so now this is that Quinn digital torque wrench I was talking about. I have to do it I have to tighten it in the same direction that I had finger tightening. Oh, what are you doing? Alright, let me show you what it's going to look like when you're pulling the... This is the 10th bolt. I have everything just about fully torqued down. I'm going to focus on that. There we go. That's all it took. Watch for that red, and then you're good. Now we have all 10 torqued down. We have all 10 torqued down to their first torque spec. Second torque spec is going to be 60 to 65 degrees, right? And then another 60 to 65 degrees torque angle. So what's torque angle? Torque angle is a little tough to explain right off the top of the bat, but all metal, especially bolts and screws, stretch a little bit when you put them under pressure. It's called their elasticity or their plastic range, or there's a scientific name that I can't think of. But essentially, you're stretching it out within its ability to come back into place. And what this does is when the engine heats up and cools down, the mating surfaces don't overcrush or undercrush when they're cool, which prevents leaks and prevents blow-by and prevents, all of the reasons that I'm replacing this engine. So you have to be very specific. And this digital torque angle, the torque wrench, does torque angles. But it's a two-handed job, and so I'm not going to be able to show you too terribly much of it. Sorry. I can only do so much with one hand. But essentially, you're going to watch me pull it 62 degrees, because it's between 60 and 65, and so I'll go 62 the first time and 63 the second time. Right in the middle, because it's not being super specific, but I want it to be relatively specific, relatively good. So that's what you're going to watch me do on all 10 bolts, and I'll go back and I'll do it again. I'm going to save you a lot of time, because you're only going to see just a couple bolts, but it's the same thing, and you'll listen to the noise. So I'm going to set you down, and then we are going to watch me work a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start it up. And then I'm going to go into function. There we are. It's going to calibrate itself. I have to have it relatively flat and level and let it think for a second so that it figures out what, there it is, 360, okay. Now I'm going to give it 65 degrees. Sorry, 62 degrees. I show you. Okay, 62 degrees, right there. All right, I'm going to put it under pressure, and it'll start to read the degrees of torque. $25, 40, 7, 2, 3. There we go, 63 degrees. Okay. Pull that bolt out. Set it in. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for 10 more bolts. Oh, I have good news. Nothing popped or fell off. So my next job is to put RTV sealant around the edge and then pop my whatever the hell it's called. I don't remember because my brain is falling apart. The cam, shit, I don't remember. Okay, so I have the camshaft guide plate on. I think this is what it's called. It has the head that I just installed, the camshaft guide plate. I have the cams in, and I have the bearing caps on, just finger tight, see? Because this, I've also got the timing chain on and stretched. I have the timing marks right where they're supposed to be. This is supposed to be, because it's a 2.0, supposed to be 3 pins past top dead center. So that's right around there. And that's because of the variable valve timing to compensate for the variable valve timing. All of these are torqued down. Now, because this whole system is about to be under tension, I have to go very, very slow. I'm getting things just barely finger tight. And then I'm going to go through and slowly, meticulously, and hopefully I don't break anything, slowly, meticulously button down all 5, 10, 15, 25 of these bolts. They all take different torques, so it's going to be fun. So, all right, I have everything back on. Let me show you. All right, all of this is back on and torqued down to spec. I was very careful and slow with it because I didn't want to stress out my camshafts and break them. So I have this all built up, and I have the chain on and it's tightened. I put the main drive back on, and I have been giving it some turning just to watch and listen, pay attention to it, because what I don't want to have is any binding at all. If you bind up, you got to stop, figure out where your problem is, because you'll blow your engine up when you put it under power. But it's been seeming like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Chain is doing what it's supposed to do. The only issue that I've found that I've had so far is I can't seem to get the timing marks on the chain, these 2 white marks coming up here, to line fully, completely back up with the marks on the shaft. So I'm way out. See, I want to have those 2 lines lined up, which will put these 2 yellow hash marks to the top, and I should have, after several rotations, these two white lines lined up. Now the closest I've come is a couple links away from it, and I was really careful. I was very meticulous in making sure that top dead center, well, this is a 2.0 GDI, I think it's a Theta 2 engine. I had the marks and so I had the yellow mark. I should probably turn the camera around. I had the yellow marks on top, and then I had these guys marked over top of the yellow, plus these were sitting on the horizon of the valve plate like you see here. This down here was top dead center plus 3 sprockets, 2 to 3 sprockets, teeth to account for the variable valve timing. My guess is that because I'm just turning it dry, the variable valve timing has backed off or something, but that's my best guess. Nothing's bound up. Like, I've been turning this for a few minutes, just watching and paying attention and making sure that the assembly oil that I put back in is on all the surfaces, and it seems to be doing fine. So my next steps, I got to put the timing cover back on, valve cover back on, flip it over, and put my oil pan back on. And then it's more or less a sealed unit again. Then I'll start putting the water pump stuff on that I have, and then I'll start putting the extra stuff on so that I can, hopefully tomorrow, take the engine and plop it in, put it back in the car. Fingers crossed.